What's going on, guys? My teacher in the house, and I'm here with my ADL Semifinals Team Builder and Battles. Your Royal Bomber for Bombies are taking on the Exostomp Excadrills and my good friend Exostomp, of course. And we've got a rather interesting match here because we're, of course, Mono Fairy type. Exo's chosen to be Mono Ground, which is a neutral matchup in general. And a lot of secondary typings is what's going to come into play here. But he does have a pretty interesting team. I will make it a little bit easy for you guys. The first 6 Pokemon are his actual team, and then the 3 Pokemon on the right hand side are the 3 mons that didn't actually come to these matches, but we'll talk about each of them individually anyway. So, bringing in, of course, first is his Mega of choice, which is Mega Steelix. Mega Steelix is really hard hitting. It's got a decent attack stat, but its main focal point is the fact it's got a monstrous physical defense stat. It's really bulky, it's really hard to take down in general. Does get things like Curse, gets Gyro Ball, gets Heavy Slam, gets Stone Edge, gets Earthquake, but it's mostly a Stealth Rock user. As are a lot of ground types and rock types, they are mostly Stealth Rockers. Mega Steelix is no exception, but it's mostly going to be a Curse set in this case. Just hits incredibly hard against my team, particularly with Heavy Slam and Gyro Ball. Really obnoxious moves against my team. Next up is everybody's favorite Pokemon. Just kidding, everyone's least favorite Pokemon, Lando Team. Everyone hates this mod for good reason. It's an annoying mod in OU. It's in 53% of Gen 7 OU teams. As for recording this video, it may even be higher than that by the time I finish. But it's a stupidly powerful mod. Really versatile, of course. Can be Z-move, can be just Scarf, can be offensive pivot. Can run a lot of things, does have the Intimidate ability, of course, which can cripple my physical threats like Gramble and Slurpuff especially, and if I'm running like physical Altaria. But yeah, really annoying mon, does get a lot of moves, does hit incredibly hard. It's just really difficult to work with. Next up is Hippowdon. Hippowdon's mostly a sand set of this team, doesn't really do much else, does get Rocks, does also get Curse as well. Can just mostly hit with Earthquake, Stone Edge, does get the Elemental Fangs if I remember correct. Gets Slack Off, gets Whirlwind, gets Toxic, things like that. But yeah, I expect him mostly to be a Sand Setter and a Rock Setter. I don't really expect much else from this thing. Next up is Nidoqueen. In my opinion, the worst of the 2 Nidos, but it's the bulkier one. Gets still the same Life Orb Sheer Force combo that Nidoking gets. Does get a decent amount of coverage moves as well, which can be kind of scary for my team. Does hit really hard, and something I do need to keep an eye on because Sludge Bombs and Sludge Waves can just absolutely rip through my team. Does get Rocks, does get Toxic Spikes as well, so he could Hazard Stack me, which could be annoying, but yeah. Really good mon, definitely one of the keys for his team's success in my opinion, but yeah, very solid mon in general. Next up is Rhyperior. Rhyperior obviously takes huge advantage of the sand, being a rock type. It gets a 1.5 times special defense buff, which is good because Rhyperior's special defense is naturally not that great, so being able to get some of that buff will help it live. Some of the hits, particularly from things like Primarina and Whimsicott, both hit it for quite effective damage. Solid Rock, of course, mitigating those super effective hits as well, does mean that it can actually live a hit in sand, which can be potentially scary, but yeah. Really solid mon in general, definitely well worth it for his team. Does get head coverage as well in things like Iron Head and Poison Jab, so it can hit my team really hard, particularly if he runs it offensive. But yeah, bit slow though, so it can be taken advantage of, so that's something to bear in mind. And last up on his actual team was Camerupt. Camurupt's kind of a cool Pokemon. Not a Pokemon I know too much about in its regular form. Obviously I know Mega Camerupt pretty well, because I like my Megas. But yeah, Camurupt's kind of a cool Pokemon. Hold on. With the fact it's kind of got a weird stat distribution in a way, but yeah, it hits really hard from what I remember. Typically, it can be a Specs Ball Breaker, does get things like Eruption, Overheat. Can be special as well with Flamethrower and things like that. But yeah, really solid mon. Does have a decent special attack and attack stat, but its bulk is kind of a little bit lackluster, and its speed tier is really slow as well. So much like quite a few of this team, they are quite easy to take advantage of in speed matches. The 3 mons that didn't come on his team, Quagsire was kind of the most surprising omission to me. I can run quite a lot of setup, particularly on Slurpuff, Whimsicott can also be set up, Altaria can also be set up, and Quagsire has Unaware, so could actually avoid all of that. I think the reason he didn't bring Quagsire though is because there's a lot of potential for grass coverage on my team. Especially things like Primarina getting Energy Ball, Whimsicott of course having Giga Drain, which is stab boosted. So I think probably my main offensive threats to him probably were two hard counters to Quagsire that he didn't like. Because even with Rindo Berry, like Quagsire doesn't eat hits very well, now being quad weak to grass. So I think that's probably his main reason for not bringing it. But yeah, I was surprised not to see it come personally. Stunfisk was kind of an unusual one in general. Stunfisk is not the greatest Pokemon in the world, from what I remember. I don't even know what its actual main job normally is. I know it does get static. But yeah, it's got decent special defense and a pretty good HP stat, but the rest of its stats are kind of below average, really. It doesn't really have that good answers to my team, but it is another Stealth Rocker. It does get Discharge for speed control. It does also get Toxic, so yeah, pretty interesting one, but it didn't come to the match, so it didn't really matter too much. And last but by no means least was Piloswine. Pretty much a mini Mamoswine in such a way. It's got a good HP stat and a decent attack stat. Can of course take advantage of a Violite, giving him a decent amount of defense and special defense. But yeah, pretty decent Stealth Rocker of course. Does get priority in Ice Shard, but yeah, it's not really that strong against my team. Doesn't really check much, and is kind of hard beaten by Primarina. So let's look at my team and let's talk about what we can do. So my main carry for this week is obviously going to be Primarina. This Pokemon just rips through his team in general. All four of his moves will hit something on his team for super effective damage. Scald hits everything on his team except Quagsire for super effective damage. Ice Beam is mostly there for Nidoqueen, is also there for Lando. Energy Ball is there for Rhyperior and Quagsire, and Psychic is there for Nidoqueen. So, pretty hard hitting. With max speed, I actually can outspeed an uninvested Lando, if it's a more bulkier Lando set, or he's not running speed investment, and certainly if he's not Scarf, this can actually outspeed Lando, even though I'm not running Timid. Minus Nature means I can just rip through his team incredibly hard. Outside of Sand, Scald actually one-shots his entire team. So, except of course Quagsire, but yeah, everything else is just there just to hit him really hard, just to come in, pick it up a lot of damage. With the Scarf I outspeed, hit unscarf Lando of course, so yeah, really hard hitting mon, probably my main carry for these matches. If of course Primarina can't carry, my secondary win condition is Slurpuff. Slurpuff with Belly Drum, Citrus Berry and Adamant and max speed and max attack. This thing can nuke a lot of his team. The only thing it doesn't really beat that well is Nidoqueen. But nonetheless, at +6, Belly Drum, of course. Drain Punch does a lot. I did actually calc this, that if Rhyperior is intimidated, which will give a bit of a spoiler to one Pokemon that's going to be on my team, even after Belly Drum Citrus Berry, it cannot actually kill me. So I can potentially set up on Rhyperior's face here. Rhyperior is not going to appreciate that. But yeah. Very powerful mon in general. Belly Drum, Drain Punch. Drain Punch will actually two-shot Mega Steelix at +6 even if he's fully physically defensive. Play Rough does hit relatively hard against his team except Nidoqueen and Camerupt. And Return is just there for neutral damage if I don't need the health or if Play Rough is weak. Next up is going to be Wigglytuff. Pretty much wish support duty. Ice Beam, of course, for Lando T and Nidoqueen mostly. Does hit his team for super effective damage. Frisk is actually kind of important this week because I want to know what some of his items are. Some of his items can be very versatile. Like if he's running a defensive Rhyperior, he'll run Leftovers. If not, he might be Banded. It could be Life Orb, anything like that. Same's true for Camerupt, really. Lando T, of course, if I want to be able to scout a Z move. If he has it, I can't remember what his Z Captain was for this. It was Lando T, so if I got the chance to, I could scout for a Lando T. Rocky Helmet, of course, chips the Lando T even if it goes for U-turn. It's generally incredibly bulky, of course. With that high HP stat, Wish is incredibly useful. Focus Blast is mostly there for Rhyperior and it also hits the Steelix on the switch in, so yeah. Generally pretty powerful mon in general, but it's mostly there just to eat a hit and wish up and just provide a bit of utility for my main carries. That's pretty much Wigglytuff's job this week. Next up is going to be my Rocky Helmet brother in this case, and that is going to be Gramble. Obviously the Intimidate is there just to cripple some of his offensive power. Rocky Helmet, of course, to deal damage on contact. If I get enough bulk ups up, I can actually put in a hell of a lot of work with Gramble. Toxic, of course, is there to whittle everything down. Ice Punch is mostly there for Lando T, and it's also there for Nidoqueen. Earthquake hits for everything except Lando T. So, pretty powerful mod in general. Does hit pretty hard, running fully physically defensive just to give me the best chance of tanking as many hits as possible. He doesn't have that much special offensive power. Yes, he has Nidoqueen, Camerupt, and Quagsire, but Quagsire is not normally offensive. And Nidoqueen and Camerupt, while they do hit pretty hard, I have switch-ins for them, so I'm not really that concerned. Next up is going to be Whimsicott coming back again. Running a more defensive utility set this week with Pranks to Subseed and Defog. This set is basically just there to sponge hits and be annoying, whittle team down, just constantly gain health, force opponents into breaking sub, of course. Giga Drain is there because it hits the majority of his team for super effective damage. It does still do decent damage even if it's neutral because of the stab bonus, of course. Basically, this thing's job is to live as much as possible, to whittle things down as far as possible, so things like Primarina and Slurpuff can come in and clean up. And that's pretty much the way it's going to be here. Now, in my last pick, I took a risk. And this pick was kind of unnecessary, I think. I brought Mega Altaria despite him having big checks like Mega Steelix, which really does check Mega Altaria incredibly easily. Cotton Guard, Ice Beam, Hyper Voice, Roost. This is generally for Ice Beam mostly. Cotton Guard is just there to live long. It's basically just to stall and try and chip down opponents rather than actually do significant amount of damage. I should really have not brought this. I potentially should have brought things like Florges to come. I could even have brought Carbink, which would have been aggressive, but it would have been worth a look in this match. But yeah, I didn't choose to go for them, and Tapu Koko, of course, is very rough in this matchup, being an electric type, so it was too much of a risk to bring. But yeah, that's going to be my team. I hope you guys are looking forward to the matches. I will be right back. Alright guys, we're back, and we are here with the matches, of course. As you can see, we see the 6 that I mentioned in the team builder part, so we're just going to jump straight into it. I did rather joke to enjoy his nicknames. As we do see the Hippowdon lead, I just lead straight with Primarina, because honestly, Primarina just hits everything really hard, and I just go for Scald here, which just murdered his team. I'm not quite sure why it murdered his team in the first game. I know he changed it afterwards, but yeah, this just absolutely ruins. I could just freely Scold here on anything. This was always a roll to kill, so I just go click it again. I have no reason not to. This is kind of just how game 1 really goes at this point. At this point, Lando comes in, but I just click Scold again, because unless he's Scarfed, I outspeed, and as you can see, he's just gone. We kill him again. Now, turn 3, we're already 3 Pokemon up, which is a huge start for us. And Exo rather jokingly said, I don't know how I didn't plan for this, but Hippowdon comes in, again, doesn't live a Scald. It just cannot live against my Primarina here. Finally, the Mega Steelix comes out. This is pretty much his best answer, because as you can see by Scald, I don't actually kill here. The burn would have been nice, but I didn't get it. But as you can see, Heavy Slam with that Sheer Force does a huge amount of damage, because I took damage from Sandstorm, of course. But Gramble coming in with the -1 attack. Does go for the Earthquake. Hate for me here, but I don't quite kill. I low roll here as we see Rest. Now, this kind of does cause problems, but at the same time, I can actually bulk up here and see what he wants to do. As we do see the Sleep Talk, which was kind of a cool little set. I don't see Rest Talk very often. He does get lucky here, gets the Heavy Slam first off, but he does get chip damage from Rocky Helmet. At this point, I can do many things, but I go for bulk up again because as at +2, he can't kill me from this range unless he crits me. Does go for the Sleep Talk again, and this time he shows Curse, which is kind of annoying because he now gets a defense boost, but the Sandstorm is now gone, so I'm in an okay position to just click Earthquake just to see how much damage I do. But yeah, 31% is not really that much, as he does go for the Heavy Slam, chipping his health down further, of course. I just go for Earthquake, go for the kill, and unfortunately we get the low roll, so he does rest up again. So we're in that awkward position here. I go for bulk up in the hope that if he does go for sleep talk, he doesn't get heavy slam. But as you can see from this, he gets heavy slam and hits it. So unfortunately, my Gramble goes down. But he does have a little bit of damage from that Rocky Helmet. Now here was my mistake originally, but this actually kind of played into my hand. So I bring Mega Altaria out here with Cotton Guard up, so I'm +3. As he does go for that Sleep Talk and Heavy Slam, you can see how much it's doing. It's doing so much damage, even at +3 for me. So I go to +6 just to see what he does, as he goes for Curse again. Which is now getting scary because he's now at +1 attack as well. I go for Ice Beam to see how much damage I do, but I don't do very much here. So he is free to set up on me, which is kind of a misplay on my end. I shouldn't let him do this, because now he just does so much damage. That is a +6 Altaria, by the way. And at this point, I'm just playing for damage, which I do get him down really low, but he's now in rest range, which is kind of annoying. So I need to find a way to kill him. So I go Whimsicott here. I do actually expect him to rest, so I go for Leech Seed. So he does rest here, which is nice for me. Because obviously I'm still sapping away on his health. Now at this point I'm free to click sub, because unless he heavy slams, he doesn't do anything to me. So we see the Sleep Talk comes out and he does actually Curse again. So it's kind of getting scary territory. This thing can actually counter sweep me at this point, but ultimately my job is just to chip him down. So I go for Giga Drain just to see how much I do. Not very much of course, because it's neutral. 16% is very little. And we see the Sleep Talk come out as he curses again. Now, we are in a bit of trouble here, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is trouble territory, because a lot of my offensive power, my Slurpuff, is physical of course. As he does go for Heavy Slam and break my sub, which I'm okay with, because now he has to rest again. I go for Giga Drain, see if I can get the roll. Unfortunately I don't, as he rests again. But yeah, we're just in this kind of stalling position for a while, where this Steelix does too much to me. I go into Wigglytuff here, as he does actually switch out, which was a very interesting decision on his part, as he goes back into the Steelix, and I just go for Wish. Now this Wish is kind of a safe play, because I can go into Whimsicott, and if he doesn't get Heavy Slam, I potentially live it. And as you can see, he doesn't. So my Wish was kind of wasted. But I get my Leech Seed regardless here. And at this point, he either switches out or he goes for Sleep Talk. Does Sleep Talk into another Curse, which is good for him. But still annoying. As you can see, the Leech Seed is still chipping away at him. So I just go for Sub. Sub is worth it for me to go for at this point, as he does Heavy Slam and break my Sub. He potentially kills me, everything on my team at this point. So it's basically just trying to chip him down as best as possible. As he does actually switch out to camera, but I go for sub again. Just because I can. It's basically free for me because of the recovery. I go for Leech Seed here in case he does switch back out again. As we do see the Lava Plume. Pretty interesting that he brings Lava Plume as always. I did expect like Flamethrower Overheat. I go for Giga Drain because it's a neutral hit. I want to see how much damage he actually does. And he actually roars me out, which was kind of an interesting play. But I get myself into my Slurpuff here, which is not a bad position for me, as I go straight for the Belly Drum, get my max attack and proc the Citrus Berry, as we see Flash Cannon, which is pretty annoying, not gonna lie to you guys. But Leech Seed does recover of course, but Drain Punch at this point will kill camera, and I will get a lot of my health back, which puts me in a pretty good spot. My Unburden is still active by the way, so at this point I have a good chance to kill, and I do get the crit for good measure, and we win game 1 off the back of Slurpuff. So, let's move on to game number 2 then. And at this point, I decide to lead Gramble, just in case he does lead with Lando or anything, as he actually leads Rhyperior here, which was a very interesting lead for me. So he does switch out, go for Sand. I actually go for Toxic here, because I want to Toxic anything of his bulkier ones. Well, this was a risky play, I could have just gone for Bulk Up, honestly. But he does get his rocks up, which is fine. And this time I do go to Bulk Up. Now, at this point, he can just roll me out. I didn't really think about this at the time. I went for Bulk Up again, just to see if he actually had it. As we do see the Whirlwind. But unfortunately for him, he wins into Primarina, which is probably the one thing that he really couldn't afford to see, because now he knows a Scald's coming. And he just sacks off his Camerupt here, because Camerupt is his least useful member of his team. Camerupt doesn't really hit that much of my team all that well, so yeah, he had to sack off the Camerupt here. As he does go back into Rhyperior, and we go for Scald, and you can see this time he has now brought Focus Sash. He did make the change, and unfortunately, because of how much that Earthquake did, I died to Sandstorm, which means I lose my main carry for this match, which was a misplay on my end. But to be honest, I didn't really think about Focus Sash. I didn't think the fact he would change it, but yeah, he changed it. But at this point, he goes for damage on my Gramble, which is fine. I should have bulked up here. This was my biggest misplay as well, losing Primarina and then not bulking up here. But yeah, as you can see, the Nidoqueen outspeeds me because Gramble's pretty slow and just kills me with Sludge Wave. And at this point, I'm in a really bad position because this Nidoqueen is set up to be really powerful. I go for Defog just to get rid of rocks, but as you can see, this Nidoqueen is Life Orb Sheer Force, so Sludge Wave just brutally murders me. I am, of course, quad weak to poison with Whimsicott, but yeah. So I lose my Whirlwind conditions for these matches, but I do still have my Slurpuff. I go for the Mega here, and I click Ice Beam just to kill the Hippowdon, of course, because I do not want Sand Up at all at this point. But yeah, at this point, Steelix comes in. This thing is super hard for me to deal with, to be honest. I go for Cotton Guard just to make sure I live a Heavy Slam, as we see him start setting up. Now, at this point, I'm in serious trouble. We're in the same position as we were game 1, the same 3 Pokemon even, but I don't have Whimsicott this time. And not having Whimsicott really loses me the match, because I can't whittle down this Steelix very easily. So we are a +6 defense, but I can just do so pitiful damage. My hope here, realistically, is to freeze him, but you can see how much damage he's doing, and that's just +2 against a +6. I go for Ice Beam again, just to try and whittle him down as best as possible, but here comes the Heavy Slam, picking up the kill. So at this point, it's just try and get him down in range for Slurpuff to pick up the kill. So I go Wigglytuff here, and I go for Focus Blast just to put him down in range, but his Heavy Slam is too powerful and kills my Wigglytuff. I do get him down low with the Rocky Helmet, of course, but here comes Slurpuff. It's Slurpuff against the world at this point. I have to go for Drain Punch to pick up the kill, which is the big problem for me here. I couldn't Belly Drum there because Heavy Slam would have killed me, so I had to go for Drain Punch. We are still in Sand, unfortunately, which does cause me a problem, because this thing is a Z move. It is actually Steelium Z, which of course just murders my Slurpuff. So we are currently 1-1, so we have to go into a decider. So let's show you how this decider played up. Alright, so I do apologize, my cursor was on screen. I took a bit of a risk here. I actually led Altaria this time, just to see what he goes for, and I go for the Mega Evolve and Cotton Guard, just to see what he has. As we see Poison Jab, which does not actually poison me, which is kind of fortunate for me, but he then just goes into Hippowdon, which doesn't really want to take an Ice Beam all that well, as you can see. I can actually just go for Ice Beam again here. I have no reason not to, as he does go Camera this time. So I just click Ice Beam again. Does measly damage because I have no real attack investment, or no special attack investment, as we do actually see lefties on camera, so we know he's not particularly offensive. But I go for Roost here just to see what he has, and unfortunately he has Toxic, which is a good bring on his end. Toxic Stalling Camerupt is kind of interesting, but yeah. At this point, I just go Wigglytuff here, just to confirm the leftovers, of course, as he does actually Flash Cannon me here, which is a good play on his part. Flash Cannon is a good solid attacking move to run against me. At this point, I can just go for Wish. Flash Cannon didn't kill me first time round, as you can see it doesn't. But I misplayed here because I forgot that Sandstorm applied first. So I actually kind of wasted my own Wish here, which was a little bit unfortunate. But I go into Primarina here. Primarina just hits so much at this point. Primarina just comes in and just cleans up. There's the Scald, of course, just ruining the Lando, which is good for me, of course. But he does have the opportunity to just go Rhyperior here. Rhyperior, of course, being sashed. So I decide to save my Primarina this time and go straight for the Gramble. as he does go for Earthquake, which doesn't do that much to me. He's still not in Iron Head or Poison Jab range, so he has to switch out here, and I go straight for Earthquake, catching the camera up on the switch, but you can see he's fully physically defensive due to the amount of damage that Earthquake would have done. We do get a crit here, which is very fortunate for me, but at the end of the day, this camera is his least useful member, so I'm not surprised. But it does get a Flash Cannon off on me, puts my Gramble really low, and does limit my Gramble's usefulness now, which is kind of annoying. And here comes the Nidoqueen. I make the decision to keep it. Mega Altaria is kind of useless for me, so I just sack it off to the Sludge Wave, knowing that it was coming. And here I can just go Whimsicott. Whimsicott, obviously, only really there for Leech Seed, just to catch him out, just so I get a little bit of recovery back each turn. Having the recovery is actually very important because it allows my Primarina to stay healthy going through this. He does actually save his Nidoqueen, which was an interesting play on his end, but I can freely Scald here. And now with the Hippowdon gone, Primarina just is in line to do a lot of work here, and if not, Slurpuff is able to finish up. So we do see the Rhyperior come out again. I Intimidate him again, just because the Intimidate's actually necessary for Slurpuff. But yeah, the Rocky Helmet chip damage just means Rhyperior is not at full health, which is okay for me. And at this point I can choose where I go. I opt to go for Slurpuff here and just Belly Drum, because as I mentioned in my team builder, after the Belly Drum Citrus Berry at -1 he cannot kill me. He does get the poison, which is really unfortunate, but ultimately this poison doesn't kill me, along with the Sandstorm damage, so I can click Drain Punch here and kill the Rhyperior, get the majority of my health back that I took from there. So yeah, we're in a good position here to hit really hard, and that's what we're going for at this point. I am of course unburdened, so I go for Return here, which kills the Nidoqueen. Drain Punch wouldn't have killed, and neither would Play Rough. Return does kill, and that was the necessary play I needed to make. And as you can see here, we've got enough health to be able to take on this Mega Steelix. So I go for the Drain Punch, get as much health back as possible, or just to see what he opts for, as he does go for Curse, which was his mistake. If he had rested there, he would have had a chance, but even had he rested, he still would not have had the best chance in the world. But we can Drain Punch and we pick up the kill. So with this result, we move on to the finals, and that final matchup is against the Stockholm Star Raptors, of course, and of course that will be Coach Arvid. I'm not going to spoil the result for you. I'm going to let you guys watch my last series on this match, but yeah, that series was equally as fun as this one, so I hope you're looking forward to watching it. But either way, I'm rambling again, so I'm gonna get on out of here. My name is Rabombi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Robomber for Bombies. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.